Hi everybody, today we're going to start out with a vocabulary lesson. We're going to look at some critical vocabulary from the story this week. We're also going to look at shades of meaning and talk about what exactly that means. And then we're going to spend some time looking at Gigi and the wishing ring and talking about parts of that story. So sometimes when you get to a word as you're reading, if you don't know what it means, it might make the story a little confusing. So here are 6 words that you might find while you're reading that is important or critical for you to remember. The first word is imminent, and underneath that word there's a definition. The word imminent means an eminent person is famous and important. The next word is stately. When something is stately, it's awesome or grand. I always think of like a castle, like the Cinderella castle at Disney World. That castle is very stately. A peasant. A peasant is someone who is very poor and may work as a farmer. The next word is superior. Superior is someone who is a superior, is better and more skilled than others. I had to pause for a second because I realized that I had typed the word stately twice. This next word after superior is merciful. Someone who is merciful is kind and forgiving. The last critical vocabulary word is deceive. If you deceive others, you tell a lie or try to make them believe something that is not true. So on this page, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the 2 sentences that go with each of the words. And we're going to figure out which sentence describes the word the best. So the first word is superior. Notice that word isn't in either sentence, but we need to think back to our meanings on the other page and see if we can use those meanings to help us determine which of these sentences makes the most sense for superior. A. Tanya has worked here longer than Brett, so she tells him what to do. B. Tanya often helps out Brett when he has too much work to do. So I'm going to look back at the definitions for vocabulary, and the word superior meant someone who is a superior is better and more skilled than others. So looking at that sentence, Tanya has worked here longer than Brett, so she tells him what to do. B, Tanya often helps out Brett when he has too much work to do. I feel like A might be the better choice because B seems like someone who would be kind and helpful. I'm not sure that that's what superior means in this. So I think the answer would be A. What do you think? Let's look at number 2. Number 2 is merciful. The angry judge ordered the thief to go to jail. Or B, the understanding judge said anyone can make a mistake. So going back to the definitions, merciful is someone who is merciful is kind and forgiving. I like the words that describe the judge. I think that helps me to determine which one I think means merciful. The first one is the angry judge, and the second one is the understanding judge. I feel like someone who's understanding would probably be more kind and forgiving, so I would say that B would be a better description of someone who is merciful. What I want you to do right now is I want you to try to do numbers 3, 4, 5, and 6. I know 6 is a little hard to see at the bottom. See if you can do those. And on your own, if you need to write them down, you can write the letters down. And we're going to pause the video if you need to for a second. We can come back to it all together and we'll look and see what the answers were. If you need to pause the video here so you can finish doing this on your own, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, right now we're going to go over the answers together. So number 3, imminent. Remember, imminent meant important, well known. So I think the answer for that one would be A. Number 4, stately. Remember, stately we said is grand and awesome. So a small building might not be stately. So I think B, fancy events were held in a large, beautiful home. Number 5, peasant. The farmer grew a large crop to sell to many markets, or the farmer worked hard but never had enough to eat. I would say the answer would be B. Number 6, deceive. A, my sister tried to trick me into doing all her chores. B, my sister asked me to help her with her chores. Well, remember, deceive is tricky, so I think A would be the correct answer there. As you're reading your story, you'll come across those words and you'll remember what those words mean. Now I want you to take a minute and I want you to look at the colors on the left of this page. What do you notice about those colors? Take a minute to think about it. Did anybody say that they were all blue? If you said they were all blue, then you're right. But they're different shades of blue. So blue can have different shades, just like words can have different shades as well. Shades of meaning are small differences among synonyms or words with almost the same meaning. The two words may be similar, but one may seem more positive or negative than the other. Or two words may be similar, but one has a stronger meaning than the other. So let's look closer. These two words right here, the first two words are tried and struggled. Those words have different shades of meaning, which means that they're similar, but one may be more positive and one may be more negative. Tried means you worked really hard to do something. Struggled meant it was really hard and you didn't do so well as you were trying. So struggled has a more negative meaning than tried, even though they're similar. The words blow and gust, when you think of wind, those don't necessarily have a positive or negative meaning, but they do. One sounds a lot stronger than the other. Blow, like you could blow up a balloon, or you can blow a bubble, but gust, that reminds you of a huge thing of wind coming through, like a tornado or even a hurricane when you hear about a gust of wind. So those words, the word gust is just a stronger version of the word blow. They're still synonyms. The words thin and skinny, those are synonyms too because they're very similar to each other. So these are some words from Gigi and the Wishing Ring. The first word is live. What would be another word that might be similar to live, but it could either have a more positive or negative meaning, or it could also just have a stronger meaning? Take a minute to think about that. So you can live somewhere, but you can also just survive somewhere. Survive sounds a lot more negative. If you're just surviving, you're not having a lot of fun. So survive is a lot different than live, even though they're synonyms of each other. What about the word ask? What would be a synonym of the word ask that could either have a more positive or a more negative connotation? I was thinking of the word demand. Like you could ask your parents for a snack. That's a lot more positive than demanding that they give you a snack. That's more of a negative connotation. And the last one is silly. Silly has a positive connotation, that things are silly, they're kind of lighthearted and fun. What about the word foolish? Foolish is a lot more negative than the word silly. So as you're reading, you may come across some words that you may notice have similar meanings. Those are synonyms, and also have the shades of meaning means they're similar, but they have small differences. So you can use those synonyms to help you figure out what those words mean. The last thing that we're going to look at today is we're going to look at elements of drama. A drama or play is a story performed by actors on a stage. It's different than just a story you would read in a book. They have a lot of differences in there. Some of those differences are words that you would use to describe parts of the story or parts of the drama or play. So for example, the script. We might call a story, we might call it a book or a text, but in a play or drama you would call the text the script. That's what the characters are going to be reading from. The next thing is dialogue. You might call that conversations if you're reading it in a story, but in a play or drama, you might call those, the words said by the characters, dialogue. Also, the cast of characters. Usually in a play or a drama, it lists all the characters in the story, and they're usually portrayed by different actors. In a story, we might not have that list at the beginning or the end of the story. You might just have to meet them as you go. Setting is very similar. A setting in a story is the time and the place. And in a play, it's the same thing. The narrator. Sometimes in a story we do have a narrator, but we might not call them that. But in a drama and a play, a narrator is the person who tells what's happening throughout the story. Stage directions. If you look on the anchor chart on the computer, you can see those words that are in parentheses, runs off stage. Those wouldn't be dialogue that the characters would read. What that is those are telling you what to do on stage. So when you got to that point, those are instructions that tell you, at that time, you're going to run off the stage. You're not going to read those words. The last two things to look at are acts and scenes. An act is like a chapter in a book, but it's in a play, and it usually contains more than one scene. A scene is the action that takes place in a single setting. So what we're going to do now is I want you to get out your My Book and turn in your My Book to page 329. You're going to reread Act 2, Scene 3, and Scene 4. You'll need to pause the video while you're rereading that, because we're going to be answering some questions about what we read. So take a minute to pause your video, reread Scene 3 and Scene 4, and then you can push play again when you're finished. So I want us to look back at page 330 and 331. On this page, we have a setting change. What are some things in the story that help us to know that the setting is changing? Well, lucky for us, we do see the pictures that go along with the story, with this drama, but the pictures aren't going to be there when they're acting it out on stage. So we have to look at the stage directions. Remember, the stage directions are those words that are in parentheses that tell us what is happening. So if we look in line 80 right here, it says, Gigi twists the ring around his finger. Play slide whistle sound effect. The waiter and 3 servants enter from right, carrying a fine cloak in the house backdrop. The waiter puts the cloak around Gigi's shoulders. The servants place the backdrop upstage center. The waiter and servants exit right. That tells us that they're changing scenes. If you've ever been to a play before, you notice that sometimes they'll have to drop the lights and bring different scenes out from behind a curtain. Or sometimes they don't even drop down the lights, they just let you see them changing scenes. That's what this is talking about. This is in those stage directions right there, we can read that and we can see that the scene is changing. The setting is going to change at that point. Now I want you to flip in your My Book over to page 334. Who is telling the story at the beginning of scene 4? If you look at the beginning of scene 4, you can see that the narrator is the one telling the story. We can see that because right here in our characters, we see the red words narrator. That tells us that that's the person that's telling the story. What is the sound effect that we hear that signal Gigi's entrance? Right here, I see howling wind sound effects. I don't think that's what's signaling that Gigi is coming. Right here, I see it says, Maliarda twists the ring, play slide whistle sound effect, lights out, Gigi, cat, and dog exit right, lights up full again. I wonder if the slide whistle would be a signal that Gigi is either coming or going. Look back for the story and see if you see that anywhere else in the story. If you enjoy finishing the story of Gigi and the Wishing Ring, and remember that those stage directions and some of these clues within the story can help us to understand what is happening even when we can't actually see them, even if it's a play or a drama on stage. Enjoy. Have a great day.